Hey Truth Seekers, it's May again. So last week I talked about why I wasn't a feminist, and in light of that, I figured that it would be a good time to make a video about something that I've wanted to make a video about for a while. So there is a woman named Lauren. She has a YouTube channel called the Dadvocate, and I'm going to tell you a problem that I had, particularly with one of her videos. I do think it extends into an issue as a whole, but I want to talk mostly about the video, and then I want to talk about where I think she goes wrong in general, because I think that this take was a pretty bad take, and I'm going to explain why, and we're going to go over her short, and then we're going to go over the original video that her short covers. So I literally just now discovered that the short from 2 years ago was actually part of a longer video. So because I have a bigger project that I'm aiming to put out between the end of April and the beginning of May, I don't think I'm going to have the wherewithal to be able to respond to that now, so I might just make it a part 2. But this is just a heads up that during the rest of the video that you're going to watch, I had no clue that there was anything more than the short that we saw responding to that original TikTok. So I'll just put this video out now, and then later we can take a look at the full-length 20-minute response that she put out. So Lauren, aka the Dadvocate, one of the things that I have in common with her is that I believe men need to be advocated for. I think there's a lot of struggles that the average man goes through that don't get talked about enough. I think there are certain things that men experience that are more common for men than they are for women. And I think those things should be talked about. And I like the fact that she does that. I like the fact that she has compassion for men. I think most people are pretty decent people. I think there's at least percentage-wise, very few people, in particular women, who hate men per se, but they do exist. But not everyone is necessarily talking about gendered issues, and Dadvocate does that. And a lot of men, you can read through the comments, wind up feeling seen and heard.
Thank you, I feel seen and heard.
Even though I am criticizing Lauren in this video, I do want to make it clear that I don't inherently have problems with her as a person. I do have questions, and I'll talk about those in a little bit, but this isn't meant to be a hateful video, and this is really just, I think she had a bad take, and I think that there's a problem with her thinking that I want to cover. I'm not here to call her a pick-me girl, which a pick-me girl is basically someone who says what men want to hear so that men like them and pick them. I'm not here to say she has internalized misogyny, at least not as a name-calling thing. I do want to explore whether or not that could be the case, but I'm going to do so thoughtfully and respectfully, given that it is very easy to assume that someone is bigoted when you don't actually know them, and I myself have been accused of being a pick-me girl with internalized misogyny, so this isn't me trying to attack her. This is just me having some issues that we're going to go over. Okay, so this short over here came out about 2 years ago, and it is called Put the Laundry Down and Bang Your Husband. So we're going to watch the whole thing. I'll put a link to the original video so that you can go and engage with the original video. I'm not trying to steal views from her or anything like that, but we're going to watch the full video, probably without interruptions. I don't intend to interrupt, but we'll see if something comes up. And then after that, I want to give you my thoughts that I had on that video when I first saw it, and then we're going to go watch the original video that she's reacting to. So here we go.
So last night, my husband and I, we were on the couch, like before bed. We were just like ready to go upstairs and have some alone time. And I was like, okay, well, I have to go switch the laundry, which immediately made me mad because I was just like mad. So I'm carrying up this massive load of laundry that was in the dryer. I think I have my Bible in my hand.
No one cares about those chores getting done on the same deadline as you. There is no one who is standing behind you with a pew-pew to your head telling you, you get this laundry done tonight or it's game over for you. Leave the laundry, go bang your husband's brains out. Do what you actually want to do in this world. And for some reason, you allowed society to tell you, no, what you really need to do is some laundry and some Bible reading. That shit, go your husband, dude. What are you waiting for?
All right, so 3 points that I want to address. I'm going to state these out loud first so that I remember them, and then we'll go over them bit by bit. First one, nobody is forcing you to go do laundry. Those are chores that only you care about. I'm trying to decide if I want to get into this now or after we watch. Okay, I'll touch on it lightly now, and then we'll go watch her original video, and then I can elaborate more after the fact. First of all, all right. First of all, yes, no one is forcing her. However, that doesn't mean that it's optional. You can say the laundry can wait until later. It doesn't have to happen tonight, but you don't know what their schedule is like, and you don't know what the consequences are for her tomorrow or the following days if she doesn't get it done that day. A lot of times, especially when there's kids involved, there is a lot to manage, and if you start letting things fall through the crack, it messes everything up. And knowing that it can slip through the crack can make it very stressful to even relax when you have it hanging over your head. I'm sure we've all experienced this in some form or another where, say for example, you have an assignment that's due at the end of spring break or summer break, and you can't fully relax and enjoy your break because that assignment is hanging over your head. Point 2. Go do what you really want to do and bang your husband. She's acting like this is just a choice for her to be mad when she didn't choose to be mad. She became mad, and she probably lost interest in sex after it. Or she didn't, but she kind of had to do what she had to do anyway. But that ties in more heavily with 1. 3, the remark about the Bible. Now, here's what I suspected when I watched this the first time. Why would she mention the Bible? What does that have to do with laundry and having sex with her husband and why she was angry? What it sounded like to me, without having seen the short, is that she was not talking about the Bible for its own sake. It seemed like she was going to list a bunch of other things that were stressing her out in some way, and that one of them happened to be the Bible, and that Lauren kind of picked that one out and picked on that one. So then I went and I found the original full video, so I'm gonna go find that again, and then we're gonna watch that together. By the way, I don't see in the description a link to this original video. Maybe it just has to do with the amount of content she pushes out, because I don't know what she does now. It's been a while since I've watched her regularly. Oh my goodness. Whoa, I left a comment in here. Okay, hold on, guys. Yes. Okay, we're gonna screen record again because me 2 years ago left a comment. But anyways, as I was saying before we read my comment, how do I put this? It does bother me when creators react to something, not just a stitch, but like a reaction to like a fuller video, and they don't mention the original video or leave the link. So I'm gonna see if I can find this one again, but last time I found it, I don't think I found it through a link that Dadvocate provided. I'm not gonna come down on her too hard for this, because it might just be an issue of you kind of have to let things slide when you're making content full time, but you know, maybe it's different for me as a smaller content creator, so I'm not going to judge that. But I'm going to be putting the links to both Dadvocate's video, to Lauren's video, and to this woman's video, who is real Amanda Bell. All right, so we'll go find Amanda Bell's video, but first, I left a comment here 2 years ago that I just discovered now. I forgot that I had left this, and so we're going to go over that. Okay, so it says that it's been edited. This is from 2 years ago, and that is, I would like to clarify that a lot of times I'll type something out and then I'll fix typos after I've already submitted. I guarantee you that's what happened here. I don't edit things after I've really left them alone, especially not if people have commented, which nobody has commented on my comment. Let me get that. Yep, nobody has commented on it and nobody has liked it. But okay, hold on a second. Much better. All right, here's what I said. I quoted Dadvocate when she said, no one cares about those chores getting done on the same deadline as you. 1. No one else has to suffer the consequences when you can't stay on top of the hundreds of tedious daily tasks. 2. The fact that no one else cares is the point. If anyone else cared, they might bother to actually help, and then you wouldn't be stuck with responsibilities hanging over your head when it's late at night and all you want to do is rest and enjoy yourself. Given that this is a short, there may very well have been more context provided, but in this short clip, it sounds like Dadvocate is making a bunch of assumptions about this scenario and then arguing on the basis of those assumptions. You should understand that being mad can take you out of the mood. You should understand that while it's okay to sometimes blow off responsibilities, it's only okay sometimes. Unless the video was longer and provided more context, you don't know what her responsibilities are. You don't know what her schedule is like. You don't know how easy it may or may not be to slump into being overwhelmed as the endless tasks stack up against you because you dared to slip behind. You don't know how much or how little her husband bothers to help with the household labor, childcare, errands, etc. You don't know if she needs that laundry laid out ahead of time so that her early morning attempts to get the kids ready for daycare are less chaotic, especially after a night that was doomed to be sleep-deprived, even if she went to bed as soon as possible. There are so many things about this that you don't understand. You have a point. You're also missing her point. Again, lacking full context. It seems incredibly arrogant to reduce this woman's evening to, oh, you're wasting time doing menial tasks when you could just be having fun. There's a time to blow off responsibilities, but when your daily life is a constant struggle to support your family with no break or vacation in sight, and you want to stop being life's bitch and actually get somewhere for a change, then the self-preservation that comes with non-stop work can often be well worth it. Given that few people have it easy, I'm willing to bet that you understand, and you've been there yourself, so you should have a little understanding. I think I said that pretty well. I think I did a pretty good job there. All right, so this being said, we're going to go find that video that she made, that Amanda Bell made. I believe I have it saved in TikTok somewhere. I'm going to put me up in the little corner over there. All right, I'm gonna hide myself. Wait, how do I do that? Okay. There we go. Description for this one: alone time with my husband, TMI, husband, sexy time, mom life, wife, laundry, angry, husband-wife comedy. Those are the hashtags. All right.
So last night, my husband and I, we were on the couch, like before bed, and we were just like ready to go upstairs and have some alone time. Sorry, this is TMI, but like there's a point to this conversation. And I was like, okay, well, I have to go switch the laundry, which immediately made me mad because I was just like mad, but stay focused, right? Like stay focused. Don't look at anything. Don't get distracted. Just stay focused on what's to come. So I go to the basement, and while I was down there, it started to happen. I started to get irritated looking at all the laundry and how the kids will put loads of clothes in or things that are just theirs, but the load is this tiny while there's a massive amount of laundry sitting on the floor that they could have added to their pile. I could feel the frustration building, and I was like, no, stay focused, Amanda. Like, everything's fine. You're just going to let this roll off. It's totally stress-free, whatever. So I'm carrying up this massive load of laundry that was in the dryer, and it was really heavy. And I also needed to bring up, I think I have my Bible in my hand, my water bottle, my phone, like other things. So as I'm standing at the bottom of the stairs, I came up from the basement, standing at the bottom of the stairs, I start yelling for my husband so he could like come and grab the basket and I could carry everything else up. And I'm yelling his name, and no one's coming. And mind you, I'm sure one of my children probably hear that I'm yelling for my husband, and still no one comes out of their room. And I'm yelling, and then I could feel it.
All right. I like the idea of letting her finish before I make commentary, but I think I might have to get out what I'm saying now so that I don't, one, forget, and two, lose the interest. So we have a couple of things here, right? Lauren was framing this almost as if she was just choosing to get angry. But she's trying to stay calm. She's trying to not let things bother her. And it's not just the laundry. It's not just taking up the laundry. She's also seeing how her kids are adding to her workload. So there's part one. Okay. 2, the Bible. Now we know why she mentioned the Bible. This was pretty much what I suspected, that the Bible was mentioned for some purpose other than the Bible, right? What does she do? She's carrying things up the stairs, a heavy laundry basket and several other items that have to go upstairs. One of them happens to be the Bible, but Dadvocate chooses to focus on the Bible part.
And for some reason, you allowed society to tell you, no, what you really need to do is some laundry and some Bible reading.
Like, why are you bringing up the Bible? This isn't important. Yeah, it's not important. The point that she's trying to make is that she's carrying a lot of things up the stairs. Her hands are full. She's managing a lot. Next part, she's calling for help. She's sure her kids can hear. Her husband, if he can hear her, we don't know about it. This is contributing to her being angry. It's not just that she's choosing to be mad about the laundry because she just wants to be stressed. Okay, let's keep going.
Feel it. I could feel like that burn and frustration and anger and everything that my husband ever did that I absolutely hated him for was happening and reminding me in that moment. So now I'm taking the laundry basket and I'm going,
okay. That is not particularly relevant to the entire point of everything I want to say, but it is, I think it is worth touching on. Very briefly, again, I think that this might look to someone who doesn't understand the way that women think. Like, it's a choice. Like, she's just choosing to get mad at her husband about everything. But when you're in a high-stress situation, that probably has happened over and over again, I think it's normal to kind of have those frustrations come back, and even if it's something you can't relate to, she's not saying her husband is bad in this. She's just describing what she was experiencing and what she was going through. And it's fine. It doesn't mean you're a bad person because you're sharing an objective, like, fact about something you experienced or felt. It doesn't mean you're saying that the way you felt was in line with objective reality. All right, so she's not necessarily saying her husband is a bad husband, if that's something you're thinking. All right, but okay, besides the point. Let's keep going.
And I'm going one step at a time. Like the laundry basket and then my feet up. And then the laundry basket. And halfway up the stairs, I was like, if somebody tries to talk to me right now, I'm getting all hot and I'm starting to sweat. And I get up at the top of the stairs and I go in my son's room and he's still on his video games, which he's not supposed to be because he was already supposed to be showered and now getting into bed. And he looks at me like, takes one, his headphones on, just takes one ear off and looks at me like, do you need something? And I'm like, Oh no. So now at this point, I've like tipped the bucket. There is no coming back from it. I'm too frustrated. You've sent me over the edge. It's all your guys' fault now. Everybody included. Where's my husband? Is he just laying in the bed, just ready and waiting? Like while I gotta fold this hot laundry? So I head into my bedroom carrying this big
So again, she didn't choose to be angry. She became angry more and more gradually, trying to control herself until there were too many things added up. And I really do want to get home the point that Dadvocate made about how nobody cares about that stuff except you. Because what she was trying to say is you're getting worked up about things don't really matter. But what she actually is kind of doing is showing why it is so hard for this woman. Because she's doing, like, seemingly, she's doing everything by herself. Her kid's supposed to be in bed. Her husband isn't tracking that. He's not tracking that the son's playing video games. It's on her to check on her son and see that he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. She's the one taking up the laundry. She's the one who has to fold it. He is who knows where. She's calling him. He's not responding. She can only guess that he is lying in bed waiting for her to come and have sex with him. Now, taking those words that Lauren used, nobody cares about those things except for you. She uses that as if it's points in favor of her case, that this woman is getting upset for like no good reason. But really, I think that phrase, I agree with that phrase, that nobody cares about those things except for her. Except that actually lends to the point of why she should be frustrated. Now, how important is the laundry? We'll see if they give us details. It may be that she's just type A and just wants everything to be perfect right away. But we really don't know what's in that load of laundry. We don't know what their routine is like. We don't know what the schedule's like, and we don't know what happens when things fall apart. So, gonna keep going.
Big hot load of laundry, looking like I got attacked by a pack of wolves just trying to get up my stairs. My husband looks over at me and I'm like, I've been calling your name. I was at the bottom of the stairs. I called your name like 100 times. He's like, oh, I couldn't hear you over this fan. Oh, you couldn't? You couldn't, could you? As he climbs into the bed and pulls the covers up, right? As I'm standing here like this, dumping the laundry out, and every shirt I pull out, and I'm shaking it while staring him down. And I know my husband knows that after I fold this hot, steamy laundry, now I have to go into the bathroom and do a whole routine of washing my face and brushing my teeth and doing all the things. All the things still have to happen. Maybe you could volunteer to fold the laundry while I go into the thing. So maybe, by some miracle, we could come back together and have alone time. Maybe.
All right. I might have to come back to this later because I'm running low on time. I got somewhere I gotta be. But a lot of people will say, and I know this video is about the problem I have with Dadvocate. Lauren hasn't actually said this. That's why I'm saying some people. But I'm also not trying to get too sidetracked because we are kind of talking about the problem I had with Lauren's response. But I'm going to put it this way because I think this might be in line with her thinking. And if it's not, a lot of people will say, why can't you just ask? And a lot of men are willing to help when asked. But the problem is that's not a partnership. That's a boss-employee relationship. It's not an equal partnership. And if she has to ask him to help fold the laundry, it means that she, by default, is seen as the one who's responsible for making it happen. I'm sure some people want that. I'm sure some people want control and want to call the shots. In fact, I'm sure a lot of people do, men or women. But a lot of women who are in this situation want their husbands to be partners. She doesn't want to have to ask him. He should, as the grown-up, understand that laundry needs to get folded. He should, as her presumably best friend, see that she has a lot of things to do before she can get in bed and relax. And he's not volunteering to help her get her night routine underway. He's not stepping up as co-runner of the house to make sure the laundry gets folded, he is standing by, either not seeing or not willing to acknowledge that he is seeing that something needs to be done until she asks him. And that's frustrating, right? She's not asking him to read her mind. She's recognizing that he is not a moron and he has every capacity to see that something needs to be done, and yet he's not. Now, the reasons for this, I have a good video I can link you on this that'll cover this more in detail, but I think there are good explanations for it. It could be, what do they call it? Malicious incompetence. It could be just that you're actually not seeing it because you're like too neurodivergent or something. I think there's a better explanation for it that's not quite either of those things, and it's not a hating on men thing. I think men can do better, but we have to talk about it first. But point is, she has very valid reasons for being frustrated. She's frustrated because he's not being a partner, and she cannot relax and enjoy her time until all the things that have to happen end up happening. And maybe you can argue, well, she doesn't have to wash her face, do her nighttime routine. But I'm sure, I recall hearing Dadvocate basically advocate for the fact that men should be able to have downtime to do unnecessary things that they like and not be a workhorse all the time. But she's, you know, it just seems like when it comes to her, because nobody else thinks they're important but her, she's expected to give them up. But I think there's a little bit of a double standard where if a man wants to stick to something that's important to him, then women need to understand that men have needs too, and men should be able to enjoy life a little bit too. But okay, I do have to go. Let's wrap this up real quick and then I'll give final comments later. You know what? No, we're going to stop here because I don't want to see it until I'm ready to comment on it. All right. Okay, I am back, and I'm in my studio, and we're going to pick up where we left off.
All the things still have to happen. Maybe you could volunteer to fold the laundry while I go into the thing, so maybe, by some miracle, we could come back together and have alone time. Maybe. But no, he just lay there in the bed watching the television as I sit over there just sweating, shaking out the clothes, folding everybody's stuff while screaming down the hall at my son. And I made sure when I was going back and forth to yell at him that I made my movements, very precise so everybody could see that my entire body language made me want to just lose my shit. So I
do want to take a moment to insert something here. There's a saying I've heard, men aren't mind readers. If you want something or you're feeling something, you have to communicate with them. And I agree. Nobody can read minds. But I think what a lot of people miss is that nonverbal communication is a real thing, even if you're not explicitly spelling things out. And if they can see that she is upset and they're not doing anything about it, that means that they're choosing to not respond because she's not using her words, which is not the same as not seeing. It's one thing to not know that someone is upset, and it's another thing to see clearly that someone you love and care about is upset and to choose not to do anything about it because they didn't use their words. Now, obviously, people can manipulate this. There are absolutely toxic people who will behave moody and emotional in order to kind of like coerce what they want without talking because they're expecting to have their needs met. But this is where it comes down to intention. And if your intention is not to control, but if your intention is to have a healthy relationship, I do think that nonverbal communication can be a part of a healthy relationship. And if you are in a relationship with a healthy person, they should be able to respond to your nonverbal communication respectfully and seriously and not just ignore it. But so she's basically showing here, she's like, without me explicitly commanding anyone, is anyone going to care when I show that I am upset? Seems like the answer is no, but let's keep going.
So kindly just announced that my attitude had now changed, and I'm in a very much a different place now. So while I was in the bathroom washing my face and brushing...
My guess, based on my own experiences and how I behave, is that she realized no one is going to care that I'm upset. Just like Lauren said, right? Nobody cares about this stuff except for you. She's realized nobody cares about me except for me. Nobody cares how I'm feeling right now except for me. Um, and I feel like this is a level of resignation where she's like, you know what? And I think that a lot of times anger comes from a place of motivation to change something that's a problem in any situation. Whether you're angry at like cruel things that happen to other people that you learn about in the news, or whether you're angry because of the way that somebody spoke to you, or whether you're angry because your technology isn't working right. I think it really comes from a place of like biologically speaking, I think the purpose of anger is to motivate change. And I think what is happening here is that her anger came from a place of wanting change. And now she either does not expect change and or she has given up on hoping for change and learned to get comfortable with the fact that change isn't going to happen. So she's stuck realizing that nobody is going to treat her with respect. No one's going to acknowledge the nonverbal communication she's been giving, and no one cares that she's struggling while doing everything for everybody else. Anyways, so this mood change, what I'm trying to say is I think this mood change is coming from a level of detachment to where she's now she's not wanting connection anymore. Before, she could be angry because she wanted her burden to be alleviated. She wanted to have connection and partnership with her husband. And now she's like, you know what? I'm going to be at peace with the fact that I'm not getting that partnership.
My teeth, I was thinking to myself, if my husband ever so slightly tries to reach his hand or any sort of body part to come across the pillow barrier that I have created between us for my comfort, how will I mentally prepare myself for this moment? Because right now I want to lose it on everybody that lives in my house. So as I was getting into bed and
I kind of want to go back and see if Lauren has a full video on this, because there's a lot of stuff here that is worth talking about that she doesn't mention. It just, nobody cares about the laundry happening right now except for you. Go bang your husband because it's what you really want to do. Which you can see here, she doesn't want to anymore. She wanted a partner. She didn't get a partner. And she knows it. And now she doesn't feel close to him. Why would you want to have sex with someone who you see is supposed to love you, but they don't support you, and they don't acknowledge your suffering when you're clearly suffering? So she doesn't want to just go bang her husband.
Go bang your husband's brains out. Do what you actually want to do in this world.
It's not what she really wants to do. And it's because of all this, but the point is that, like, all this stuff that builds up that she has to deal with alone because she doesn't have a partner, she has a helping hand, that makes you not want to jump in bed. That makes you not want to bang your husband. And I'm sure it's the other way around too. I know of men who, they are the ones who are responsible for basically everything, and they're the ones who have to tell their wives to get anything done. But I haven't yet heard, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen, it just means I haven't had a chance to have these discussions yet. I haven't yet heard of any men saying that they don't want to have sex with their wife when she's like this, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I peeled back the covers. I made sure to slither in, but still stay close to the edge. I didn't want to go in too far, so one butt cheek was still slightly a little bit off the edge. I saw him coming over across the pillow barrier to give me a kiss, and I figured I'm not even going to pucker. You can just kiss my unpuckered lips.
Okay. In order to do this video justice, I do think we need to talk about how common of a problem this is. Right? A one-off instance, it's like, well, I can say, well, maybe you're misunderstanding her. And Lauren, or someone who's on Lauren's perspective, her side of things, can say, well, maybe we're not. I think what matters here really is the pattern. And I think what really got to me, one, is that I have experienced this. My husband's been getting better, but my goodness, it has taken a lot of time and work. Yeah, I get it. Lauren will come for me for the partner shaming. it's not that I don't care, it's that I think I'm doing the right thing by talking about this. So I'm gonna partner shame anyway. This is something that me and my husband have struggled with a lot. That's part of why it got to me, because it was so personal. Because for the many years that we have been married, it's always been me shouldering the burden of knowing what needs to happen and making it happen, and him jumping in to help when I ask, and not actually being a partner taking initiative on his own. And I have learned that this is actually fairly commonplace. And I want to demonstrate to you the case by talking about a study that was done by a team of people. They wound up getting a peer-reviewed study. They wrote a book on it called The Marriage You Want. But they basically looked at different patterns in marriages and the dynamics between different husbands and wives, and how that correlated with their beliefs, as well as how that correlated with their like beliefs about gender roles, beliefs about religion, and so on. And there's a video that they have that I'm gonna show you here. It's called "What is the Unfairness Threshold in Marriage? The Effects on Housework and Mental Load." So I'm gonna show this to you basically to show you that this is a common problem, that this is not just an anecdotal thing, but that there's a serious pattern here. And I think that seeing that this is a pattern will put into context why I'm concerned that Lauren was so off base. Alright, so this is from the YouTube channel Sheila, Wray, Gregoire, by the way.
Which is our findings on mental load and unfairness. And I'm actually really excited about these.
Yeah. This is something that we found that was really huge. Like the impact of unfairness in this area in the marriage is just, it's unbelievable. So,
So we're going to bring Joanna on to tell you about how huge this is, and then you and I can unpack it. So here is Joanna. All right.
Joanna is their statistician, by the way.
I have brought Joanna Sawatsky, our stats person, on for Stats with Joanna, Stats Corner. Here we go. We are going to talk about housework and mental load.
Woohoo!
Yes, because Joanna, when you listen to most marriage teachers or TikTok videos or Instagram, and they talk about the two biggest problems in marriage, what are those two biggest problems that they talk about?
They talk about money and they talk about sex.
Right. That those are the biggest problems. And you know what? There is something that is way bigger.
And we have the numbers to show it. Ha!
Yes, exactly. All right, let's talk about it. You want to explain?
So first of all, we're looking at the marital flourishing scale. It's called the relational flourishing scale. I always think of it as the marital flourishing scale because we were looking at married couples, but that's me saying it wrong. We reallocated the points in the scale. So it was supposed to be from like 0 to 62 or something. And we said, no. We're going to do 0 to 100 because that's way easier. Yeah. It's just, it makes no difference at all for how things were actually scored. It just makes interpreting the stats a little bit more intuitive. Thank you. All right. So with that caveat aside, so we looked at if you have sex a few times a week versus once a month. And it makes a big change. It's a 10.6 point drop, or 10.6% of possible points were lost if you go from sex. What was it? Sorry. Sex a few times a week versus once a month.
Yep.
Cool.
So that is, so sex does matter.
Yeah, of course it does. Makes complete sense. There's a reason that we have a book called The Great Sex Rescue.
Yes. Okay. What about money?
Okay, so money stress in your marriage makes about a 5% change, or a 5-point change. So it's a big deal.
Yeah,
Major thing.
because remember, like, I know 5 doesn't sound like a lot, but most people on this scale are kind of like between 65 and 85, 90. Like it's not like there's a ton of people at the 20.
No.
But like it's pretty condensed in that. So yeah. So
and a 5-point
is
drop
a
is
lot.
statistically significant, and it makes complete sense that money problems would be stressful and it's going to make things harder, right? Of course. But we just wanted to lay the ground. This is how much the marital flourishing score changed. Changed a lot. It's a significant difference. Cool.
But then,
okay. Now hold on to your hats.
Yes.
When we looked at housework, when your spouse does half of the housework, and if your spouse is doing no housework. So this is comparing if you do about half, or if you do more than 90%. Yeah.
Yep.
That is a 31% drop
Yeah. People do feel the unfairness.
Mhm.
So yeah, we also asked, hey, we asked first of all, how much housework do you do? How much does your spouse does? And then does your spouse do their fair share?
Mhm.
Right?
Yep. Yep. And if you do 60% of the housework or less, about 90% or more of respondents say, "Yep, my spouse does their fair share."
Yep. Yep.
Once you get over that 60% mark, stuff starts dropping like a rock. So we go to, if they're between 61 and 70%, it's about 75% of respondents say that their spouse does their fair share of housework. And by the time we get to 91 to 100% of housework, it's down to 19.4% of
Right.
respondents say their spouse does.
Okay, so this is establishing a few things. There are two things that I want to be established here. The first one, which they've kind of already covered, is that when you have a wife a person, but we're going to say wife, for example, here. When you have a wife who does the majority of the housework, her marital satisfaction goes down significantly. So with Amanda, it's not just that on this one particular day she's choosing to do the laundry when the laundry can wait. What seems to be revealed here is a clear pattern of her being upset due to her being the default individual for getting things done. It seems to not just be anger about this one particular day, but if your life, day in and day out, is you doing the majority of the work, that is going to make you upset. It's not her being petty and choosing to care about things that no one cares about. It's a natural response to having an unfair amount of the burden placed on you. Okay, so that's the first point I want to establish from this, is that she's not necessarily overreacting. Her reaction is completely normal for someone who's doing far more than their fair share. And I'm willing to bet that some of the women we looked at in the comments of her video saying things like, well, I would just let the laundry wait and I would want to go have fun. If I thought sex was involved, I wouldn't want to do the laundry. Laundry can wait till later. I'm willing to bet that those women aren't bearing the unfair majority of the work. They're probably women who have supportive husbands who do their fair share, and they can afford to wait for the laundry to be done because they know that they have that support and they know it can get done, as opposed to someone for whom it all falls on them. The second thing I want to show you, that I want to establish from showing you this, is how common it is.
There's that to 91 to 100% of housework, it's down to 19.4% of respondents say their spouse does their fair share of the housework.
Yep. And this is whether or not they worked outside the home.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So even your stay-at-home spouses, if they are doing 90 to 100% of everything, they're saying, no, my spouse does not do their fair share.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, there's that small group who say, no, this is reasonable. This
and
is
I
fair.
would have been in that small group.
Mm-hmm.
Like when my kids were little and Keith was in his medical residency program, so he was working like over 100 hours a week. I did everything. And I felt that was fair.
Yep.
Because he was exhausted. He was hardly home. And when he was home, I wanted him to play with the kids. Like the kids needed to see him. You know, he didn't need to be folding laundry. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not like there's always exceptions, right? So we're not saying that everyone has to do the same amount, but it's just it has to make sense for your family.
Mm-hmm.
And when it doesn't, people feel it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the other thing is,
does it feel fair that she struggles alone with laundry and is upset, and she's ignored when she's upset, while everyone else, most importantly her husband, relaxes and enjoys themselves? Maybe for a one-off day, not as a pattern.
More than 40 hours a week.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then we asked, this is kind of interesting, is we looked at what happened over time. Things were unfair. Do you want to explain that one? I call this the unfairness threshold because we saw it in a number of areas, but explain what we did.
Yeah. So we looked at if a respondent, man or woman, does at least 75% of the housework.
Okay.
What percentage of them also say that their spouse does their fair share of the housework?
Mm-hmm.
Based on how long have they been married? Dumb. Okay. So if they've been married less than a year, 72% say, this is fair. This seems reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm doing 75% or more, but it's okay. I'm
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah. At 1 year, 56%, almost 57.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're dropping.
Yeah.
2 to 4 years, we're down to 51.
Mm-hmm.
5 to 9 years, we're at 47. And then it's down to 38% by the time we hit 10 to 14 years.
Yeah.
And
And
it kind of
down
stays
there.
around that level.
Yeah. So this drops like.
I don't know how long she's been married, but based on the fact she has a teenage son, there's a good chance that she's been married for more than a decade. It might not be the case. Maybe he's adopted. Maybe he's a son from another relationship. I don't know. Right? But decent chance, if they have a teenage son, decent chance they've been married for more than 10 years.
A stone. This is the thing that I really want people to hear me on, okay? Is you can put up with something that's unfair for a period of time, but you can't put up with it indefinitely without feeling it. And it really impacts marital satisfaction when you feel like your spouse isn't being fair. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which makes complete sense. Again, like it's fair to acknowledge the reality and say, no, this isn't fair.
And we saw the problem is we need to be a team, right? Yeah.
Okay, so then we also looked at what percent, not just of like overall housework do you do and does your spouse do? We looked at what percentage of different tasks do you do? So like laundry, dishes, vacuuming, tidying, that kind of thing. And then we took the women's, where do they stick their slider, and where do the husbands place their slider? And then we could look at, okay, what percentage of couples in our survey located themselves in the kind of XY axis that you would get.
Yeah. So
basically, this is important because when you're doing a study that is a survey, you're kind of relying on their words. So what they did for this study was they took married couples, separated them to ask them on their own, like to take this survey on their own. And then they compared what did the husband say versus what did the wife say.
It's actually a really cool chart. It's called a heat map, and it's a really cool chart. But yeah,
you have a bias toward whoever the respondent was, right? Understandably, I know every time I fold the laundry, I know that I folded the laundry. If my husband puts the laundry away, I might forget that he did it.
Right.
And so our perception, understandably, is going to be a little bit biased toward ourselves. But that was like a 1-point shift, maybe. Mostly people know. Like, they're saying, okay, yeah. We do the yard work 50-50 split. Or if there was one spouse who owned yard work, it was probably him. But when it came to pretty much everything else, if somebody owned the task, it was the woman who owned the task. Vacuuming, even stuff that's, just constant and kind of awful, like tidying, just is never ending. Either it's 50-50 or she owns all of it.
Either it's 50-50 or she owns all of it. Seems like she owns all of the laundry. Right? It doesn't seem like they do laundry 50-50. It seems like she owns it, that she's the one taking initiative for making sure it happens. Certain things can be done more or less whenever. Mowing the lawn, for example, doesn't have to happen immediately, and it doesn't have to happen all that often. Like, maybe once a week at most during the warmer months. But generally speaking, like, it's once every several weeks, and it doesn't have to be done right at that moment. But things like cooking, things like making sure there's clean clothes, things like wiping up spills, things like making sure that you're not forgetting any major deadlines for the family, for your kids, like those are things that happen on the daily and they need to be constantly reevaluated. So if she's the one owning laundry, what else is she owning? Is she owning the rest of the cleaning? Right? He feels that he can just climb in bed while there's still stuff to be done. And you can say, well, it can wait till later, but if we see that she's the one who's responsible for it, she's probably responsible for a lot more than just making sure the laundry comes up, which it doesn't even sound like it's a chore that's been assigned to her, that she said, I'll take over this. It sounds like she's just the only one who does it because
no one cares about those chores getting done on the same deadline as you.
So if all these things need to happen, and they need to happen regularly, and they need to happen consistently, and nobody cares about those things but her, of course she's going to be overworked. Of course she's going to be upset. Of course she's not going to want to have sex with her husband. But we're acting like it's just her being petty. Okay, so we've established how this can look and how it can seem unfair. The question is now, how common is this?
Very few couples where he made the appointments for both of them. It was either
Exception, understandably, is going to be a little bit biased toward ourselves. But that was like a 1-point shift, maybe. Mostly people know. Like, they're saying, okay, yeah. We do the yard work 50-50 split. Or if there was one spouse who owned yard work, it was probably him. But when it came to pretty much everything else, if somebody owned the task, it was the woman who owned the task.
Okay, if somebody owned the task, it was the woman who owned the task most of the time. That does not mean that most women are stuck owning the task, but it does mean that if it's going to default to someone, it's more likely to be the woman. So I want to know what percentage of women are responsible for most of the things. What percentage of these married couples have the women actually taking ownership of the majority of the things that need to happen, as opposed to being mostly fairly divided?
Vacuuming, even stuff that's, just constant and kind of awful, like tidying, just is never ending. Either it's 50-50 or she owns all of it.
Yeah, and that's what we saw over and over again. Either it's 50-50, and about half of couples were like 50-50. Maybe it's not exactly half. Maybe it was like 60% or 40%. But it's like, there's a good group of couples that are, we each do our fair share. And then she does it all in the others. And this was true not just with housework. It was true for things like who makes medical and dental appointments.
Okay, so they're saying about like a sizable chunk. She estimated on the upper end 60% of marriages where the division of labor felt fair by both couples. Not that they're necessarily each doing half the work, but that they feel that it's fair how the work is divided. That still leaves, with that estimate, that leaves like 40% of marriages where women are owning the things that need to happen. If that's true, I'll double check my copy of the book. Sounds like there's a lot of women who are having an unfair amount of work falling on their shoulders, only getting help if they ask for help, not having actual partners to step up and do the adulting with them. And they're getting frustrated about it over the years. And if you're one of the, let's say, 60% who has a supportive husband, then of course it's going to sound to you like she's being petty for caring about the laundry, when that's not what's really happening. And I think this is a good time to segue into my final point, which is that I think what's happening with Lauren is that she's so used to advocating for men that I think that, and I don't know this for sure, I think it would be cool, Lauren, if you're out there and you're watching this and you want to have a conversation, I think it would be really cool, whether it's in person or whether it's like over a video call or something like that. It can be recorded or non-recorded, up to you. I think it would be good to kind of like discuss these details and figure out what exactly do you believe and what you don't, and have me test like what it seems like to me, and you can correct me or not. But it seems to me like Lauren is so used to siding with the men and advocating for the men and seeing how is this unfair towards the men and how are the men feeling, that when there are situations where it's actually the woman who's the one that is in the unfair position, that it gets overlooked. I think that she's developed but I don't think a bias is inherently a problem. But I do think there is such a thing as being unfairly biased. And I think that in the course of advocating for men, that she has become a little bit unfairly biased towards, how is the man feeling here, and what is the woman doing that's wrong, that she's her deficiency, that she's not seeing what he's going through. And I think this is an example of that manifesting. So that's all that I want to say for this one regarding Lauren. but I think that one of the videos I'm going to make, I'm not sure if it's going to be a separate one or this one, but I want to show you a video that Sheila Wray Gregoire and her husband Keith had done. It's the same video, but there's a section where they give an example, like a fictional story, that show what it looks like when the woman carries the majority of the mental load, as well as an explanation of what mental load is. And I think that would be something that would be good to go over. But I'm not sure how to wrap this up, but I might add more stuff later. But as always, thank you for listening. Let me know your thoughts. I'm not just saying that for the algorithms. I'd like to know your take on this situation. I guess in particular, what I'd like to know is, what were your impressions from watching the short? Did your impressions change at all when we watched the TikTok that the short was reacting to? Do you agree with my position? And whether you do or don't agree with my position, do you think that I'm missing something? Like maybe you technically agree with me, but you think I'm coming at it from the wrong angle. Those are the things that I would like to hear. And yeah, see you in the next one. Goodbye.